Alright, so in today's video, we'll be looking at what is an API by looking at the restaurant edition. So today we'll be exploring what exactly an API is, and how it can be relatable to a real life scenario. Yes, so that is why we call this the restaurant edition, in the sense that we'll be explaining the concept API like as if you were in a restaurant. So yes, I think that's it. So this is what we'll be shooting today, an API and looking at the restaurant setting. So once again, if you're just in, my name is Dynasty and this is Code Dynasty Studios. Here we post tech related videos on concepts in tech that might seem complex. So our goal is always understanding is key. So let's get right into it. So hey everyone, welcome back. We're breaking down what an API is using something super familiar, a restaurant. In today's video, we'll be breaking down what exactly an API is by using something that is super familiar. I mean, everyone has been to a restaurant. I can't even count how many restaurants that I've been to this year alone. So at every point in time, each and every single one of you must have been at a restaurant. So let's get started. So what exactly is an API? Yeah, what exactly is an API? An API is like a waiter in a restaurant. It's a way for two systems like your app and the server to communicate and share information. But how does that look in real life? Let me take that again. An API is like a waiter in a restaurant. It's a way for two systems like your app and the server to communicate and share information. But how does that work in a real life? We will look at a scenario where it actually works we will look at a real life scenario. Imagine you are at the restaurant and you are super hungry. Yes, you are very, very hungry. But you don't go into the kitchen yourself, right? Yes, at the restaurant, you never have to go into the kitchen because you place an order with the help of the waiter. This waiter creates a way for you to talk to the kitchen right from your seat. Yes, let me take that paragraph again. But imagine you're at the restaurant and then you are super hungry. Then you want to place an order, but you don't go into the kitchen to place the order. No, you wouldn't be allowed access into the kitchen just because you want to place your order. You place an order with the help of the waiter. This waiter creates a way for you to talk to the kitchen right from your seat. And the waiter is an API, an application programming interface. Let's try to summarize all what we've just said here now. So we said an API is a way. An API creates a way for two applications to talk to each other. Yes, so we now give a scenario of a restaurant. Let's picture that you are at a restaurant. Let's say you are an app and the kitchen is also an app. So the API is the waiter, which is creating a way for two apps to talk to each other. Yes, that is the purpose of an API. An API actually stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a way for two computers to talk to each other. So let's now get a bit more technical here. There are three people involved here: the hungry customer, the waiter, and the kitchen. You, the hungry customer, can be regarded as one app. The kitchen is another app, and the waiter can be called the API since it creates a way for two apps to talk to each other. The kitchen is one app, the customer is also another app, and then the API creates a way for two apps to talk to each other. Let's continue. And that's it. Now you know what an API is. Boom. That is just an overview of an API. API creates a way for two computers to be able to talk to each other. That is basically what API does. And if you look at it at the restaurant setting, if you as a customer you are an app, and then the kitchen is also an app, the waiter is the one creating a way to ensure that the customer can communicate with the kitchen. So that waiter is basically an API. So now you know what an API is. Some benefits of API includes separation of concern, reusability, security, and scalability. These are some of the importance of API. Separation of concern, where you are able to separate the business logic from the other aspects of your code. Reusability, your code can be reused. Security, for example, now, if all customers are allowed access to the kitchen, a customer can end up sneezing into the food or contaminating the food in one way or the other, which can end up ruining the restaurant's image. So APIs create security for our applications, and scalability too. One waiter can serve as many customers as possible in a restaurant. Yes, one waiter can serve as many customers, and one waiter can serve 10, 20, thousands of customers. Yes, that is where API comes in. API creates a way for your applications to scale up. Why do we build APIs? So let's look at why exactly do we build APIs. One of the reasons we build APIs is to enable communication between systems. Yes, APIs create a way for two systems to be able to communicate with each other. So that is a reason why we build APIs. Another reason why we actually build APIs is to save time and resources. Yes, it's to save time and resources. Picture a scenario. Picture a scenario whereby each and every single time a customer at the restaurant is hungry and then wants to order food. Each and every single time, if he always has to go to the kitchen, for example, now let's say the customer ordered breakfast, let's say the customer ordered lunch, then he also ordered dessert. So if the customer is always going to the kitchen every single time, such a scenario wouldn't be resourceful and it will take a lot of time. But the API will help in saving time. Then to improve flexibility, yes, APIs are very, very flexible. To enable integration and innovation, obviously, with an API, you can there is no limit to the amount of innovation that can be created thanks to an API. I can give you a great scenario. I was reading a while ago about the Shopify story that was found. Shopify was founded by a guy named Toby Lutski and Scott Lake. So I was watching a documentary based on it, and then they said something. They said when Toby first started out, he didn't know how big Shopify could actually grow. But when Toby now raised venture capital, he was able to scale up the company in the sense that he created an API. So developers were now manufacturing things to fit that API. Today now, if you go to the Shopify platform now, you will see loads and loads of applications that can be added to. You will see so many plugins that developers have been able to create, all thanks to the API that Shopify made available to them. So there is no limit to the amount of innovation that you can carry out whenever you have APIs. So there are basically 4 types of APIs. I know online you might be seeing things like SOAP, you might be seeing things like REST, you might be seeing things like gRPC, but just take it like this. The real thing is that there are 4 different types of APIs. All of these APIs, they fall under one particular part of API. There is the open APIs. Open APIs, also known as public APIs. When they say something is public, that means all developers have access to it. As far as you have a computer, you should be able to navigate the API. Private APIs might be an organization now. An organization might create an API specifically for that company. So only the employees are allowed to use such API. Composite APIs and partner APIs. Partner APIs, 2 organizations might team up together to create an API. So the 2 organizations can talk to each other. For example, now if a company adds a dispatch services now, they can create an API. Yes, they can create an API that enables the actual company communicate with the dispatch company. Let me use an Amazon example to explain this now. There are multiple sets. You might just be thinking that, I just go to Amazon and then I order. No, there are multiple parts in the Amazon flow. There is the dispatch riding service. There is the delivery service, the deliveries. There is the application which shows the data and So Amazon can create an API that will enable the actual app to communicate with the delivery service. So once a customer places an order, the delivery service, the actual app will communicate with the delivery service and ensure that customers' demands are being fulfilled. So to sum it up, APIs are just like waiters in a restaurant that allow different systems to communicate. We build them to enable communication, save time, improve flexibility, and to drive innovation. I gave a great example of the Shopify platform where an API was created, and then developers created so many plugins related. They created plugins, they created checkout buttons, they created a lot of things, all thanks to the Shopify API. Whether you're a developer looking to integrate services or just curious about how your favorite apps work, understanding APIs is essential in today's tech world. So, before we hand up the thank you button, let's look at a brief overview of what we discussed again today. Today we talked about API in the restaurant setting, and then we were able to establish the fact that APIs create a way for two computers to talk to each other. Yes, and then we picture the scenario of a restaurant. At the restaurant, you would normally place your order through the waiter. Yes, you would normally place your order through the waiter. You don't have to go to the kitchen yourself to place your order. You place your order through the waiter. So we said that you are an app, and the kitchen is also another app, while the waiter is the API that creates a way for two apps to talk to each other. So thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more tech insights. Yeah, thank you. Drop your questions or thoughts about APIs in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Yes, so if you have any questions or any questions or any suggestions, I'm very open to them. Just drop them in the comments below and I would love to hear from you. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Once again, this is Codynasys Studios.